So let's get down to business, and we go blow by blow to learn how many commissions that we have in this country that, of course, were mandated by the Constitution, and, of course, them that were created by the Act of Parliament. And we will begin to get to see the faces behind the commissions and, of course, behind the independent offices as well. We'll learn about the independent offices. We know two of them were created by the Constitution. That is the Controller of Budgets and also the Auditor General as well. And of course, them that were created by the Act of Parliament, there are many of them, and I shall be running them by you much later in the course of a program. But just to set the tone for our discussion, we have our panelists with us here, and they will tell us more about their commissions and what it all entails and what is their mandate. And so far, looking back from when the Constitution was promulgated, what are the achievements, right? What has been also some of the headwinds and tailwinds they've been facing as far as their commissions are concerned? A very good morning to you, gentlemen and lady. Thank you for joining us this morning as we embark to discuss on this very key topic about our commissions and the independent offices in the country. But we want to know, as far as commissions and independent offices are concerned, maybe we can begin with you, Professor Margaret Kobia, for the benefit of the public who they do not really understand maybe the difference between the independent offices that were created by the Constitution and the commissions. How do we uncouple and learn about the difference?
Thank you very much. On Chapter 15, where we say Chapter 15 lists down all the commissions and independent offices in this country. I think when Kenyans gave themselves the Constitution, yes, they also decided how they wanted to be governed. We have the independent offices. This is the Office of Auditor General, which does oversight on how the public finances are utilized. Yes. Then we have Controller of Budgets, who also kind of provides guidance on how devolved funds are being shared within the devolution. Yes. Therefore, the reason why we are here today or this morning is because the 15 constitutional commissions and the independent offices have come together looking at the various mandates that we have and looking at the complexity of how we work together. I think the chairs of the commissions and independent offices decided to come up with a forum which kind of tries to understand our responsibilities, our mandate, and how we can work together, especially on the complexity issue of independence. We are independent, but at the same time we are interdependent. Therefore, when we work with ethics and corruption, they come to my commission, yes, and then do their investigative work, which is their mandate. Then this forum has helped us to understand how we work better and deliver on our mandate. Yes. The question of accountability, this is why we have this conference for constitution offices and independence offices at Nyeri. Yes. Or from 6th to 7th, that week of the 6th, so that we can be able to explain what we have achieved for the things we are established in by the Constitution, and at the same time, we feel strongly this is an opportunity for citizens to hold us accountable for the time we have been in offices and what we have been able to achieve, and also be able to explain. Therefore, that forum, we have invited all our stakeholders to come and engage with us and they participate with us to be able to understand and to take stock and reflect where are we almost 6 years after implementing this Constitution. So it's a forum that we are looking forward. This is not the very first one. I think we have done almost 4 conferences, and each one of them builds on each other because we get a feedback on how we are performing, and we also have an opportunity for citizens to hold us accountable for what we are doing. There's a whole question of should we have these commissions, but since Kenyans decided they needed these commissions, I think, of course, after implementing for almost 6 years, Kenyans are also right to reflect and say, what is each commission doing? And now we have enough data to find, do we need all of them, or there are some maybe which could be combined. This is, I'll leave it to Kenyans when they are reviewing the constitution to think how to go about it. But I can point at one data that says,
yes,
when the Auditor General did an evaluation of how the constitution is being implemented, in fact, the total budget utilized by the commissions were like 1%. Therefore, in me, what I think is, we will not gain very significant even if you reduce 1 or 2 commissions. Therefore, but I'll leave it for Kenyans when they are reviewing the commission, the performance of all the commissions, they will decide how they want, in the review of the constitution, how they want the commission to be in order to serve them better moving forward.
All right. Let's get a broad overview, because you mentioned this is not truly the first conference that has been held for the commissions and the independent officers as well. Yeah. But before we know, this will be the 6th one. Before also you had other conferences. What were the highlights and the themes of these conferences? Maybe we can begin with the last year's. We know this one is about devolution. It will be focusing now as we're heading to the 2nd term. Of course, we have the devolution also having the 2nd term with these elections just gone by. So, what so far have we learned from the other conferences that, yes, as we're coming now to this particular conference that will be happening next week, then we can say these are what we discussed last year, and these were the achievements that we've done so far, and now we're turning our focus on another subject, which is devolution, and our commission also, the commissions and the independent officers that have been effectively fulfilling their democratic, requirement as far as the constitution is concerned. Let's hear from also George Morara.
Debarl, thank you so much for inviting us to this very important discussion this morning. I think it's a breath of fresh air. And as Professor Margaret Kobia said, these forums have been avenues for reflection between the Commission and the members of the public. Indeed, the last one we had was in Eldoret last year, and I think that was a very good avenue. We had the county government there, Governor Mandago. He was able to walk around. He showed us what they've been able to achieve. I remember the commissions visited a few institutions like the referral hospitals there. Then they were also able to engage with members of the public. So again, these are very important spaces because the Chapter 15 commissions, if you ask me, one of the key reasons why they were formed, actually, I would want to look at them as the 4th arm of government.
Yes.
We have the judiciary, the legislature, and the executive, but then looking at the 4th arm of the government, precisely for the reasons that you said in your introduction, which are under Article 249 of our Constitution. We exist to protect the sovereignty of the Kenyan people.
Yes.
We also exist to promote constitutionalism, and we are supposed to operate independently. We are not supposed to be captive to any authority or any person. I believe the commissions are really doing a lot of good work. We'll get to that in the course of this discussion.
Yes.
But upfront, I want to agree with Professor Margaret Kobia that one of the biggest challenges, even when the Katiba is very clear in Article 249(3) that we need adequate funding for these commissions, that has been the biggest challenge. With 1% funding of the annual budget, then you start seeing how hamstrung we can be in our operations.
So funding also has been a crippling factor as far as the operations of a commission is concerned. Let's hear from Archbishop Eliud Wabukala. And of course, now we know by now at least you've shaken into place as far as taking your role as the chairman of EACC is concerned. But so far, what are you learning?
Thank you so much for inviting us to this forum. First, I think there's a lot I have learned as we partner together with the other chairpersons of these commissions. When Kenyans gave themselves the constitution in 2010, we were coming into this constitution from a background of a lot of disappointment.
Yes.
As a society. And one of the things that was to make sure that Kenyans' interests are taken care of was the establishment of these commissions. Perhaps as a comment preliminary, I want to say that since independence, and just even in Africa, around 1910, South Africa was getting independence from Britain.
Yes.
And the main focus was who is going to take care of the interests of the Africans. At that time, I think the British people gave the whites that responsibility. But unfortunately, they failed. It came to Rhodesia, the same thing happened. They failed. Now, when it came to Kenya, they wanted to have a citizenship that will grow, be educated,
yes,
and then hand over the welfare of Kenyans to them. We have struggled with this question for long, and I think that's why the Constitution in 2010 was trying to address that issue. Can we find a people that can take care of the welfare of Kenyans? So, as my brother has mentioned, there are 3 arms of government. Independent officers have come in to address the issue of taking the welfare of Kenyans, ensuring that the welfare of Kenyans is actually taken care of. And so in 2010, the independent commissions are created, particularly the EACC, was to see that, well, we have government, but like a car,
yes,
it needs a wheel, it needs brakes. And so Chapter 6 of the Constitution was put in this Constitution to look at integrity and leadership. Because without leadership that has integrity,
yes,
without a sound value system, all other things we do are not capable of being achieved. And so Article 79 of the Constitution mandated Parliament to establish the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, which, like now other commissions in Chapter 15, come together with specific mandates to serve Kenya. And the commission I am on is specifically to prevent corruption, to combat, actually, the term they use is to combat corruption, have corrective measures, preventive measures, issue advisories, and more so ensure that governance is value-based. And so I think the commissions that we have, as the professor has hinted, are very vital. From the time I have gotten into this and learned what they do, I think they should be strengthened and not thought otherwise. But as we have also agreed, it's important that after every 5 years,
yes,
we look at this Constitution, assess the things that are important for Kenya, and where changes are supposed to be done, let us boldly go for that, make the necessary changes to ensure the Constitution serves Kenyans. And so the commissions together have a common purpose for Kenya. They are independent, but we are also interdependent. Because, of course, we shall talk about our mandates later, perhaps.
yes, yes.
But there are many areas where we must do work together. But again, the work that I see at EACC is so huge that I will not think it can be collapsed into another commission and be effective. And so those are things we must begin to look at.
Yes,
yeah.
And those are the things that are the subject, of course, we shall be broaching the interdependency of the commissions, and also the independence of the commissions as well, and whether we should merge commissions so that maybe we can also try and tame the bloated wage bill that we do have. Let's hear from Mbage Ng'ang'a, who's the chair of the Kenya National Law Reforms, to tell us more about the commission and, of course, what he thinks about this particular gathering that will be happening in Nyeri as well.
Yes. Thank you, Debarl. Actually, the Kenya Law Reform Commission is not a Chapter 15 commission, but it's a very old commission, initially established in 1982 under the Kenya Law Reform Commission Act 1982. At that time, the commission was a department in the office of the Attorney General.
Yes.
Now, when the NAG government came into power after the 2002 elections, the Ministry of Justice was created, and the commission was now housed in the Ministry of Justice. You remember that the constitutional reform process took a renewed impetus upon the establishment of the NAG government, and the ministry, through the commission, championed the constitutional and law reforms, which in fact came even at a more heightened position after the 2007 post-election violence. And the commission is the one that actually put into place the legal infrastructure an architecture that gave rise to the formation of the coalition government. The National Accord document was prepared by the Commission, and the Agenda 4 commissions like NCIC, Truth and Reconciliation Commission, the framework leading to the constitutional reform process,
yes,
development of the KLRC legislation. These were all initiatives of the Ministry of Justice, of course, in conjunction with the Office of the Attorney General then, and of course the other sectoral ministries. But the Commission was championed in developing the legal infrastructure. Come the Committee of Experts, yes, the Commission also played a role in that. Our drafters were involved in the work of the Committee of Experts that led to the development of the 2010 Constitution.
Yes.
Then after the Constitution of 2010 was promulgated, the Kenya Law Reform Commission found its place in the Constitution with a mandate to work together with the CIC, whose term has now expired.
Yes.
The sixth schedule, particularly paragraph 5(6)(b), provided that the CIC would work with the Kenya Law Reform Commission, yes, and the Office of the Attorney General in preparing all the legislation specified in the 5th schedule to the Constitution that were required to implement the Constitution. So we formed a modus operandi where the Kenya Law Reform Commission was the main interface between the government ministries and departments that developed the legislation, the policy and legislation that were later discussed at the round table, which would be convened by the CIC. So once we agreed on the legislation, then we would submit the same to the Attorney General, who would forward to Cabinet for its approval. After the Cabinet approval, of course, it went to Parliament for enactment. During that process, Kenya Law Reform Commission, of course, together with the relevant sectoral ministries, prepared over 200 pieces of legislation, including amendments to the existing legislation in order to implement the Constitution. So Kenya Law Reform Commission has actually been involved extensively in constitutional implementation and continues to do so.
Right, thank you. So having now given a bit of a background of what you think the conference was all about from the years that you've held that particular conference and this coming one next week, let's now find out what each and every commission that is represented here really is mandated to do. Because a lot of Kenyans, they don't really know what is the difference between, all amongst all these commissions that we have in the country. We have 13 which were created by the Act of Parliament. Maybe just I can run them by you. I'll show you the graphics much later. We have the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, and this was in light of what was happening or happened in 2007, 2008 after the 2007 elections. We had the post-election violence, and this was a creation also of Parliament. Also the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, and of course the chairman Eliud Wabukala has given all the details about also this particular commission. The National Gender and Equality Commission, and of course this is where also Vice Chair George Morara will tell us, because initially we had the Kenya National Human Rights Commission and Gender and Equality, and then of course there was an Act of Parliament that was passed in 2011 that had also to create two other commissions, and that was Commission on Administrative Justice and also the National Gender and Equality Commission. So we want to know also, this of course was a creation also from the Constitution, Article 59, yes, Article 59. But the question is, was there any rhyme or reason of coming up with these 2 commissions? Were you not able to handle, these particular 2 dockets as well, right? So also, so I've mentioned the Commission on Administrative Justice, also Commission for University Education. We have also Kenya Film Commission, we have Kenya Mate Commission, we have the Kenya National Commission for UNESCO, we have Ethics Commission for Cooperative Societies, which maybe you've not even heard of, and of course they will tell us what this is all about as well. National Commission for Science, Technology and Innovation. We have also Permanent Presidential Music Commission, also Energy Regulatory Commission, and Kenya National Law Reform, of which we know Chairman Mbage Ng'ang'a has told us about this particular commission as well. But let's get to the mandates so that Kenyans can really know what is the Public Service Commission, what is also some of these other commissions that were created by the Constitution. Just run us by that as well. And I want to also tell you which ones that were created expressly by the Constitution, which is Parliamentary Service Commission. Also, we have the Judicial Service Commission, Commission on Revenue Allocation, the Public Service Commission, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, the Teachers Service Commission, the National Police Service Commission, the National Lands Commission, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, and of course I've mentioned the Kenya National Human Rights and Equality Commission by then, which was expressly in the Constitution as Equality and Gender and Equality Commission as well. So let's hear from Professor Margaret Kobia. When we hear about Public Service Commission, what is the mandate of Public Service Commission?
Thank you, Debarl. Let me say that Public Service Commission is one of the oldest commissions in this country. It was established by colonialists way back in 1954. You can see by 1954, Kenya was already feeling that they needed a commission that does recruitment, promotion, management of human resource in the civil service. Of course, over the years, all other commissions have actually come from Public Service Commission. At one time, even Judicial Service Commission, Parliamentary Service Commission, they were kind of one. Public Service Commission was like one arm of the commission which dealt with all these human resource matters in Kenya. But I think with the evolution and the maturing of our democracy, and also Kenyans being very keen how they get governed, especially provision of checks and balances in government, I think we came now with the chapter, with Constitution 2010, with the chapter 15, where now there are specific commissions given specific mandate. Particularly the Public Service Commission, which I chair, its key mandate is to establish and abolish offices in the civil service. I think that's one big mandate that we struggle when the government is going to be formed, and the executive is figuring out what ministries, what departments should we have. Then we have a responsibility based on a study to advise, and then the executive has the authority to fine right on that structure. And of course, when it comes to abolition of the office, we also do another study to find, do we need this office now in the public service, or do we need to abolish it? And if we abolish it, what do we do with the staff who are holding such offices? Therefore, I think that's one broad area where we are more known for recruitment, promotion, disciplinary action to staff, up to separation. And this is purely in the civil service. I think it's going to make that distinction. Then we have another broader function where we promote values and the principles of public service. Values and the principles of public service involve like high standards of professional ethics in the service with provision of the services, effective and the efficiency in the public service. We also have effective use of economic resources. We also have participation and inclusiveness in decision making when it involves human resource management in the public service. That now covers the entire public service, except where maybe we have other Chapter 15 commissions. Therefore, every year we do carry a study to find to what extent, as public entities, implementing the values and the principles of public service and a report on that. And I think over the years we have already done, we are now doing our 5th report, and we can see every value in the principles and public service is improving. But the most important thing is when we get this evidence-based kind of data, we are able to tell various government ministries, departments, this is where you are as far as improving efficiency and effective in the public service. This is where we are in terms of improving inclusivity, in terms of diversity, because the Constitution says we need to be diverse in terms of gender, in terms of ethnicity and regional representation. So our first study indicated where we are, and every year we are using that data to improve that particular value. Therefore, in my view, we felt that Public Service Commission, being the oldest, we kind of keep the norms and standards of human resource in the public service. And we also advise government from time to time on terms and conditions of service in the public service. Of course, we work with a lot of other commissions like Salaries and Remuneration Commission. So in terms of consultation, in terms of agreeing with the executive, and let me say this where public service has played a very critical role is especially being able to understand how to work with the other arms of government. Because there's a perception that when we are talking about the government, people tend to think it's executive.
Yes.
But as my colleagues are pointed out here, of course we have the judiciary with a very specific role. We have the parliament, but all these 3 arms of government and the commissions must work together to deliver value or national strategies for the entire government. Therefore, it's very important to understand how do you lobby, even as commissions, to be able to be given the right budget. As you have heard, we have been struggling with it. Therefore, in our view, as Public Service Commission, we have been able to come up with a Public Service Commission Act. You know, coming up with an act in any situation is normally a very rigorous political process. But now, as our commissions are doing its 5th year, we have been able to put on the table, as one of our achievements, a Public Service Commission Act, which will guide the service moving forward. We have been able also to come with various policies in human resource, which we have shared with the county government, which now they can customize on how to manage human resource in devolved units, because that has been a challenge since in devolution. We realized that it is never easy for a devolved unit to be able to figure out their very clear mandate, or to then think what kind of strategies that they need to take. And I think right now they're having that integrated county strategy, which is giving them the organization structure, and then they are able to place the people, and they're able to use the policies that we have to be able to manage them for efficiency.
Right. And also you can clarify for our viewers as well that yes, the Public Service Commission also is bestowed by the Constitution the nominate to actually to nominate persons to the Judicial Service Commission and also Salaries and Remuneration Commissions under Article 171. Because when we saw, the Judicial Service Commission, we're looking for even the CJ, when during the vetting, we see your face and we tend to get confused a bit. So you can also clarify on that very briefly.
Let me very briefly. I think the framers of the Constitution knew that Public Service Commission, being one of the oldest commission in terms of human resource function in the civil service, they did indicate that Public Service Commission will nominate a person in Judicial Service Commission so that they can be able to work together and maybe focus the country in more or less similar norms and standards as far as managing human resource is concerned. So actually I'm a member of Judicial Service Commission and I'm actually the vice chair. So I think it was that need to bring the cross-fertilization for the purpose of getting better oversight for this commission. Of course, also Public Service Commission nominates other people, salaries and remuneration, and in many other areas where expertise of human resource functions is concerned. Let me also touch very little on other commissions that you mentioned. There are several other commissions that are in place in Kenya, but these other commissions are established through a registration as a way of implementing certain government policies.
Yes.
Like it look like Commission for University Education. They just deals with regulatory aspect of higher education in the Kenya. So that's why you find there is Chapter 15 Commission, but there are many other commissions which can be almost over 20,
yes,
which have got very specific role derived from a registration.
Thank you. We will get into that because we have a whole lot of time to actually discuss that. But let's go back to George Morara, as I mentioned. Yes, this is what also a professor is alluding to, you know, the creation of other commissions, not through the Constitution, but the Act of Parliament, and we have many of them. And I just read some of them and ran that by our views as well. One of which is, of course, the National Gender and Equality Commission, which previously was under the docket of Kenya National Human Rights Commission, Gender and Equality, and also Commission on Administrative Justice. Tell us more about this. Was there any rhyme or reason to actually split this? Or the crafters of the Constitution saw it fit that, yes, we have Article 59, and so we can go that route and have these particular two commissions as well?
Debarl, if you allow me, before I respond to that, let me also just give a little bit of a background on our commission. Our business is human rights. That is our core business. And I think human rights violations have been there, not only in Kenya, but globally. In fact, the worst forms of human rights violations were witnessed during the First and the Second World War. That led to what we call atrocities that shocked the conscience of humankind. And therefore, the seminal document, the 1948 Universal Declaration of Human Rights, in this country for the 70 years or so that the British were here, there are a lot of acts of human rights violations that were committed. But again, unlike Professor Margaret Kobia's commission, we've not been in existence since 1954, despite the fact that the country has experienced a lot of violations, especially during the colonial time, then post-colonial time, and all that. But we're also not that young. Most people don't know that the successor commission, or the commission, the founding commission of the human rights commissions in this country was established in 1996.
Yes.
So we've been in place since that time. There was the Standing Committee on Human Rights that was then chaired by the late Professor Onesimus Mutungi. We had Thwita Mwangi as the CEO. That was the Standing Committee. And then there was a Statutory Human Rights Commission that came in place in 2003. That is with Maina Kiai. And then now we're in the era of a constitutional commission that, as you rightly point out, was established under Article 59 of our Constitution. If you look at that article, it has a long, long name, the Kenya National Human Rights and Equality Commission. There was a lot of debate that went into whether we should have that big commission there that then encompasses issues to do with administration of justice, where the Ombudsman now takes that mandate, and also issues to do with the National Gender and Equality Commission. But again, because that article of the Constitution allows Parliament to restructure that Kenya National Human Rights and Equality Commission into 2 or more commissions, I think Parliament, in their own wisdom, and of course with a lot of Kenyans who presented their views, then came up with these 3 distinct commissions, all emanating under Article 59. So we now have the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, which is our commission, the National Gender and Equality Commission, which is our sister commission, and also the Commission on Administrative Justice. If you look at our founding mandates, all of us are required to collaborate in terms of the way we discharge our mandate, and all of us are supposed to steer clear of the respective mandates of these commissions. So again, I wouldn't really say that it was a misnomer for the commission to be restructured this way, but I know strongly, especially the commission itself, the 2003 Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, and the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights was quite keen on just having the Kenya National Human Rights and Equality Commission. But then again, that is water under the bridge. All I can say now is that we work very closely with our sister commissions. And if Kenyans choose to amalgamate these commissions later, because there's that provision, then there's also room for that. But quickly, our business is really human rights. And I think our approach, I always tell people that we have a 3-pronged approach. We whisper to those ones who are supposed to be the promoters and protectors of human rights when we are sitting next to them. We dialogue with them when we are sitting across the table. And sometimes they tend to ignore us, so we have to shout at them to catch their attention in matters human rights in this country. And all this includes both public and private actors, because that is our mandate, really, to ensure that we establish a culture of human rights in both public and private spheres in this republic. But as the show goes on, I will maybe tell the viewers exactly how we've approached this mandate, which are these spaces where we are currently whispering and dialoguing with both private and public actors in matters of human rights, and where have we been forced to shout at the violators of human rights. And upfront, I think issues to do with political accountability and security still remain those thorny issues, where as a commission, we've been forced time and again to shout at those who violate human rights in these spheres.
All right. Okay, let's say from Archbishop Eliud Wabukala. Of course, we know the overarching mandate of Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is to fight corruption in this country and issues of ethics of violations as well. But you can give us a broader overview, because that's where we have the tripping wire. What is exactly and how effective is also the commission, you know, trying to fight corruption in this country? Because we've seen the morphing of this commission time and time again. We know it was a Kenyan Anti-Corruption Commission, and there has been so many also legislatives that have come to the fore. We can talk about also some of the acts that have come to the fore as well to try and effectively fight corruption as well. So what is the overarching mandate of Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission?
Okay, thank you so much for the question. I think just like my colleagues have said, the challenge of corruption was realized way back in the colonial times. I think the foundations of an institution to fight corruption dates back to 1956, as I look at the history.
Yes.
The government realized that there's need to have a strong value system that it drives governance. And therefore, there have been attempts to establish an institution that will specifically help Kenyans to establish a sound value system that drives the governance. Now, as I said, in 2010, there was specific step by government to establish the EACC. Of course, there have been attempts previously. We had several attempts to establish a system that will work. You know that there have not been very permanent chairpersons.
Yes.
It has been actually evolving every time. But I think Chapter 6 of the Constitution, which talks about leadership and integrity, became the focus of this institution that I lead. Parliament was then supposed to enact legislation that will govern us. If you look at Act 2011, which established the EACC, it has a lot of specific responsibilities for us. Responsibility for the commission, setting up the commission itself, setting up the secretariat, and outlining its work that has to be done. But maybe just to remind us on leadership and integrity, Chapter 6, the responsibilities of leadership, that the authority assigned to the state officer is a public trust to be exercised in a manner that is consistent with the Constitution, demonstrates respect for the people, brings honor to the nation, and dignity to the office, promotes public confidence in the integrity of the office. And it is also clearly stated that the responsibility given to any state officer is for them to serve people, not to rule over them. And I think that's an important point which needed to be enforced. There is also, of course, some of these are found within the public service, as the professor has said. But the guiding principles of leadership and integrity will include selection on the basis of personal integrity, competence, suitability, or election in a free and fair election. You know, we look at how do people come into those offices. Is there fairness? There is Now, how the state officers do their work, how they implement the policies within their jurisdictions. But for us, specifically as the EACC, to first use law enforcement. We do actually follow up people who do not do things according to the law. Maybe you have had us go to courts. We have taken several people to court because in one way or another, they actually were found corrupt or they violated the leadership and integrity codes. So we do that enforcement by getting into courts. We also work to preserve and recover assets that we feel have been stolen, or even when we suspect that some of the assets that somebody has cannot be explained. Mm-hmm. If, for example, we find you have $1 million, you have a whole estate built somewhere, and it is known how much you earn, we go and look at that, so that we establish, and I'm very happy this year we really succeeded in, through the courts, to actually deal with people who, about few of them, who had taken property and they were suspicious. And it's possible that we shall have that taken back to the government. We also address issues involved by enforcing Chapter 6, as I have said, where, for example, officers are not, like Professor said, they are values that people must follow. But when they break them, mm-hmm. for us that becomes a challenge, and we either advise the people who are in charge of that office to carry out administrative sanctions, or we actually take them to court as well. We have now 3 cases as I speak, involving some senior officers who were not carrying out their duties in the way Chapter 6 is supposed to be taken. We also carry out education, mm-hmm. public education. Yes. And in this, we do a lot of partnering with other people. We actually are thinking that we cannot have corruption fought by an individual institution or a person. Mm-hmm. Our strategic direction now is to have every Kenyan be part of this process.
Right, let's now get to discussing issues as far as independence of the commissions is concerned, the complementarity of working relations is concerned as well. But before we head there, I know we took a short break and maybe you had something to say in relations to your mandate. Just one final comment on it, then we drill deeper into these issues as well. Let's begin with you, Professor Margaret Kobia, very briefly.
Thank you, Debarl. I think regarding the mandate of Public Service Commission, and especially where it concerns establishment of office and appointing people to such offices, I think appointments in this country are very sensitive, and that's why, as Public Service Commission, every time we are appointing people to higher offices, yes. we really adhere to Chapter 6, as spelled out by Archbishop. Therefore, you can see, even if you are independent commissions, we also kind of cut across with other commissions, especially on the issue of leadership and integrity. Therefore, in my view, since we got these commissions, our starting point should actually be strengthening these institutions so that they can citizens can get trust. Because what we are saying, as Wajiko seen and different service delivery mm-hmm. since the commissions were established. I think that we would want to leave it to Wajiko. But from what we are hearing is the starting point would be to strengthen our commission so that they can be able to deliver value to Wajiko, yes. because Wajiko does not really care which commission, which arm of government is giving us services. So I think we need to get that very clear that our independence, which sometimes people tend to confuse, in our view, we take independence to mean independence in decision-making. But when they come to operations, we are supposed to work across commissions, across arms of government, so that we deliver those services and a better quality of life for Wajiko. Therefore, and I think as a Public Service Commission, we have done that. We have not done a lot of controversy in appointment because we have done it competitively. We have implemented the values, and professionally.
Right, let's say from Mbage, independence of the commission so far, do you think that you are fully independent, or maybe there is the clammy fingers of the executive or maybe other arms of government which are trying also to control the decisions, the policies that you're making as far as your commission is concerned?
Yeah, independence is really a relative term, because you take all manner of things to determine the independence. One is, budgetary provisions. As my colleagues have pointed out, Article 249 of the Constitution requires that Parliament provide the resources required for the constitutional commissions to perform their duties. Of course, we know that budgetary provisions is a matter that concerns everybody, including the executive itself, Parliament itself, and there may not be sufficient resources for everybody to perform his work to the ultimate objective they would like. So, for statutory commissions like the Kenya Law Reform Commission, unlike the constitutional commissions, our budget is a line budget in the Office of the Attorney General. Although once the money has been given by Parliament, the Attorney General actually passes over the money to us. But of course, this brings the issue of bureaucracy before we get our money. Budgeting in the country is done at sector levels. So like our budget would normally come under the governance, justice and law sector, which includes the Ministry of Interior, police, the Office of the Attorney General and all that. And the legal justice sector money is put in a basket where we all go to defend our budget. Sometimes smaller commissions like ours don't have a lot of voice there. You find a lot of the resources will go to the bigger ministries. But we are happy that in the last few years we have been able to make our presentations to Parliament, and Parliament has awarded us increased funding when we request.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's say from George Morara, because pundits have been wondering, has the system of independent commissions failed? They say that the drafters of a constitution perhaps faltered at the final stage, having devised a system that, it is not fully, as they put it, independent, because, of course, we know, save for the Parliamentary Service Commission, which the chair is not appointed by the president. We see these other commissions, of course, they have to go through the appointment of the president and also the approval of Parliament. So in the final run, they are the people who are actually giving the stamp of approval to these commissions as well. So in a way, did the crafters of this constitution maybe faltered in the final stages? Because when we're talking about independence, still we have the list that is given to the president. He's got the wherewithal, he's got all the wiggle room to choose whoever he wants. So if the people, and he thinks one of the finalists who has made it to the list is a person who is not really cooperative, with scare quotes, then he might not really make the cut, George Morara.
Well, if I may speak from our own commission and what I know about the other commissions, the process of recruitment is fairly rigorous. It's an open process. You apply, you send your name. There is an advert that's placed out. You apply, you send your name in there, then you're shortlisted and interviewed. So by the time the president gets the names, it's not like he's just going there to do the rubber stamp. I think there's a lot of due diligence, especially in terms of how we come into the office, that involves even stages where the public can submit memoranda when you're appearing before the parliamentary committee if they have anything that they don't like about or to raise against you as an appointee. So if I may speak for the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights Commission, the Commission on Administrative Justice, even the EACC and all the other commissions, I think the process of recruitment is fairly rigorous. And maybe in line with what Professor Margaret Kobia said, our independence really has to be assessed, especially from what is anticipated in Article 249, that when we're taking our decisions, we're not directed in those decisions by any person or any authority. And I must be quick to add that one of the ways that we as a national human rights institution, our independence is ascertained, is not only by what Kenyans would want to say about us. There's also the Global Alliance of National Human Rights Institutions. And I must say that since the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights was established in 2003, we've always had what we call status A grading, which is the best status, shows that in terms of operations, we are independent, and nobody really gives us directions. But a few challenges still remain. And one of the challenges maybe is what Chairman Mbage is saying. We tend to get swallowed up in this justice sector-wide kind of budgeting. Maybe there has been that discussion in terms of adequately funding the commissions. Why can't we breathe life into Article 249 so that the commissions can also have a separate basket and vote that goes beyond the 1% that they are currently allocated? Yes. I know there are also measures, saving measures in government that have been taken, like the introduction of IFMIS and all that. That has occasionally also hampered our operational autonomy, because sometimes the money is turned on by Treasury, then other times it's turned off, and then it becomes very difficult for us to actually do our work. But finally, I think for me, what would also help in reinforcing our independence is that once we've gone to Parliament and defended our budgets, for example, and we do that ourselves, we do that before the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, and we allocated money, it becomes very difficult later on, again, when Treasury, I know, in efforts to save costs and all this, then unilaterally slashes our budgets across the board. Like currently, about 75% of operational budget has been cut, and that goes to the very core of really affecting how we deliver our services to Kenyans. So I would really urge that once we've gone to Parliament, defended our budget, and it's been approved, then I think it's wrong for Treasury to come in and then tamper with those budgets.
All right, let's hear also from Eliud Wabukala. Budgets to fight corruption. You, of course, alluded to that, everyone here, that financial independence also has been a bit of a challenge to you, that of course you're not given enough funding from the government as well. But how also independent is the commission in terms of personnel independence, the ability of the commission to hire its own key staff members to minimize manipulation from other sectors of the state?
Okay, thank you very much. I think the EACC is a very independent commission from the principle set in terms of independence. First, the decisions that are made by the commission itself. We have, I'm chair and we have 4 other commissioners. We do our meetings to give policy and direction to where the commission should be. We also have a budget that is given to us, and basically it's like we control it, although we get it from government. We, as a commission, I think the work that we have is a lot. We receive so many cases almost every day. At least 300 reports are brought to our office daily on corruption from across the whole country. And all this, when they come, our duty is to make sure we follow up. And therefore, we need a lot of personnel in terms of investigation, intelligence gathering, legal officers, education officers, ethics enforcement officers. There's quite a lot to be given to this commission in order to achieve. And in terms of independence, I think we are very independent because all our cases come, they are dealt with at the commission level. Yes. We have different committees that deal with our cases, like enforcement committee, which will ensure that investigation has been done well and it is proper to be taken over to the office of the prosecutor, or DPP, so that it's taken to court. And this must be done as a process. Sometimes it's very expensive. Actually, not sometimes, but all the time. It's very expensive, where you have to follow up somebody who has taken public money and then make sure that that case is tight enough to find space in court. So we do that very independently. as I joined this commission, I think about now 8, 10 months ago, I have never been called by anybody on anything. All that we do is done by us. And I think that's what Professor has alluded to as independence in decision making. But you see, as we do our decisions as a commission, we are alert to the fact that we are not alone. Mm-hmm. We have Kenya as a whole with us. We have the other independent commissions with their respective mandates. So we do that alive to those facts that are before us. So in terms of independence, yes, we are. In terms of budgeting, we also put our budget across. We demand more, yes, because of the need for personnel. We have benchmarked with other countries. And I can assure you some countries like, I think it's Malaysia, where the population is so small, about 14 million, but they have a commission on corruption which has over 1,000 investigators alone. Mm-hmm. When you compare that with the Kenyan situation, you find we are overwhelmed by the fact that we have few people. We need capacity really to deal with Kenyan problems. I want to add also that the commission sometimes is judged by how many high-profile cases in court. They see newspapers coming up with saying governor so-and-so is in court or so on. But I think the commission should be judged by the few people that get corrupt. I think we need to have that concept where our society grows so that there are not corrupt people. We should not celebrate the fact that we have put so many people in jail because of being corrupt. I think that's a bad judgment. Therefore, our focus has been therefore to expand the education, to expand the preventive arm of our work, to expand the advisory part, to expand the structures, the support of other institutions to ensure they improve their structures.
Thank you.
So that loopholes to corruption are sealed.
Thank you. All right, we want to look also at the duplication of work from these commissions as well, because yes, we know the wage bill is bloated, and we have so many commissions that, of course, they're carrying out the same, so to speak. Even hearing some of the mandates that you have to say, and listening also to Margaret Kobia as well as to some of the mandates that are given by the Public Service Commission as well. First of all, why do we have the Ethics Commission for Cooperative Societies? We have that as a docket also within the Public Service Commission. Also, we know there's an Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. What was the information behind creating this Ethics Commission for Cooperative Society in the first place? Can't we all lump it also to be within the docket of Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission? Can it be also lumped within the Public Ethics Act? That, of course, also you see the full implementation from the Public Service Commission, Margaret Kobia.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. And Debarl, allow me just to touch on the independence as far as appointment is concerned by His Excellency, the President.
Yes.
In my view, most of us here, the positions we have, the way we went through that process, not that we are in favor from His Excellency, the President, but the framers of the Constitution must have seen is right, that several people are going to be appointed, but there's somebody who has the final authority to appoint. And from my experience where I see from Public Service Commission, I think the Constitution has really safeguarded this appointment by the President so that there is no time we have been influenced just because he appointed the members to make decisions as members of the Commission just because he appointed. So I think we need to kind of to understand that's how the Commission is, the Constitution is framed, that the appointing authority is the President, but the fact that we are like 9 on the table, any decision that has to be made are to benefit from the contribution of the members. And I think we can also say we would be naive not to expect some pressures from some quarters, people wanting to influence the decision. But so long as you put it on the table to be shared by other commissioners, the decision is always good for the country. So I think, in my view, I don't think we have really compromised our independence because it's safeguarded in the Constitution. The issue of the budget, of course, we know we have to understand our context. we have had a very prolonged election. Therefore, our budget, 75% has been cut. That gives us a level of constraint. And I'm sure that's why this forum of chairs, I think, has gone a long way to lobby.
Yes.
Sometimes when we realize our budget is falling under a certain sector, and we are likely not to get the much we need to be able to perform our function,
yes.
We have lobbied, actually, to have that kind of our budget reviewed. And I think that is a benefit of coming together so that we can lobby. Also, when one of our commissions is under attack, this forum comes and tries to kind of to give some mentoring, some support within those commissions. And I think that is, to me, is a big value, because when a commission is under attack, especially on the independence for one reason or the other, and the other commissions are ready to support, I think it improves, it strengthens the institution, and it's for the benefit of the country. Coming to your question that why are there other institutions that are established?
Specifically the ethics and...
in ethics and corruption.
The Ethics Commission for Cooperative Society.
Okay.
Which many even Kenyans don't know that it really exists. Yeah.
I would imagine that it issues to do with ethics and integrity in the cooperative sector is huge. In terms of, if you look at one of the sectors that has a lot of Kenyans belonging is in cooperatives.
Yes.
And I think the way the cooperatives are formed with their governance, there have been too many issues. Therefore, maybe at that level, that's why the registration must have come up with ethics specific for cooperatives. Just as we have courts, but we have tribunals that focus on a particular environment, cooperatives, and the different aspects. So I would believe that much as we may think that those ethics and integrity in cooperatives can be brought to Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, I think we might miss the specialization for that sector. I believe that could be the reason. But
what is the specialization? I wonder, because stealing from a cooperative and stealing from maybe a bank, it is still stealing. It is not labeled cooperative stealing. So ethics is ethics, no matter how you slice it.
But I want to believe, the process of producing a registration, I'm sure there is normally a policy. You look at a policy that is going to address a certain solution or a certain challenge on the ground. Any registration does not just come from anywhere. There has been a policy that is trying to address a certain problem within the context. Therefore, those framers, when they are doing that policy, they are doing the law, they must have felt there are specific concerns in the cooperative sector that cannot be taken at the armpit of ethics and corruption. Perhaps in their investigation, I've not looked at the law, perhaps there are some cases they will identify and end up taking them to ethics and corruption. But I know cooperative as a sector is very problematic, and I'm sure that specific specialization might benefit from having that kind of investigation by these cooperatives, ethics and commission.
Right, but the justification that we are given when you look at...
but if it has come to the policy and law, that means some reflections have gone into it. Therefore, we can only need, moving forward, to review, to find, is that the best way to use our resources? Right.
Maybe Mr. Mbage can help us on this, because, of course, you, from the Kenya Law Reform Commission, you can try and shed some light. Because they say that Part 1, this is from the website of the Ethics Commission for Cooperative Society, Part 1, Section 2, Article E of the Public Officer Ethics Act defines cooperative societies, staff and board committee as public officers. This, they say, necessitated the cooperative sector, which was done via legal notice number 120/03 under the Public Officer Ethics Regulations 2003. The commission was to serve as the responsible commission for officers and employees of cooperative societies. Membership of the commission then was drawn from officers within the Ministry and Cooperative College of Kenya. Over time, it was felt that the purely internal board was not the best arrangement, and there was need to have stakeholders' participation. Then they say, because we have this in the Public Service Commission, the Judicial Service Commission, Parliamentary Service Commission, and Teacher Service Commission, among others, so there is need for also them to come up with the Ethics Commission for Cooperative Society. Does this really hold water?
If you look at our laws, you find a lot of administrative, quasi-judicial administrative bodies. We have had an occasion where we have had to relook at the so many administrative and quasi-judicial bodies.
Yes.
In the public service, where you have a ministry which also sets its own tribunal. In fact, the last time we looked at it, we had 175 tribunals. And there is a move to try and restrict those tribunals to, to very few tribunals, which will come under the judiciary. But there is still the need to have some administrative bodies which are rather impartial. Maybe the problem is actually naming that body as a commission. It could just be a board which administers disputes when a person is accused of unethical conduct. He is given a fair hearing. And you must have a body which is not being controlled by the permanent secretary or the HR department of the relevant ministry.
But looking at the mandate, it's not diametrically different from what Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is doing.
Well, as I say, the national bodies actually set up the standards. And Mr. Bishop Wabukala will tell you, when he wants to cascade his public education or ethical promotion, there are certain organs he will need to use to cascade what he is trying to do at the national level.
Okay. Of course, I stand at a very disadvantaged point myself, because all of you are commission chairs and vice chairs as well. So you cannot actually raise accusatory fingers against one commission, all right? So you'll be very diplomatic on how you answer this. But no matter how we look at it, right, maybe to bring another case in point will be the National Cohesion and Integration Commission. We have the commission, and still under the ministry or the office of the president, you also have a department of cohesion. And the department of, is it National Cohesion, right? Just within the office of the president. Let me hear from George Morara. So what will be diametrically different from what National Cohesion Commission is doing and what also the Department of Cohesion within the Office of the President is doing?
Or even maybe Bishop Wabukala will tell us the National Steering
and Anti-Corruption Committee as well,
and all
right?
that. I think, again, other than maybe some of these bodies being established as specialized agencies within those specific ministries, departments, as well as agencies, if there's a proper justification within those very limited and localized spaces, then maybe they qualify to have them. I'll give you an example of even our commission. We have the commission, but then as a commission, other than being established by Article 59, the Act of 2011, we come up with other operational structures within the commission, including the committees and all this. Maybe that's how we handle our own internal affairs. And that is what the chair of the Public Service Commission was trying to say. In the cooperative sector, there could be a commission that has been established to give sharper focus just on cooperative matters. In the university sector, of course, we would have said any of these other commissions would have dealt with that, but then we have the commission for...
Why can't we take that, not really as a commission, but as a department, and then it's predicated under the Commission of Public Service Commission or Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission?
Well, that goes to the framework of our politics as a country, the structures we establish, the laws we set. And Professor Kobia said one of their remits is to establish and abolish offices. Maybe through this conversation, even as we rationalize, we are also talking about looking at the Constitution, what has worked for us, what hasn't worked for us. I think as a country, we can't say that we have institutions and structures that are fully formed and therefore cannot be relooked or even re-examined later. As I speak now, I think one of the things that the judiciary has done is to even look at the whole issue of how do we reform certain aspects of that judiciary, like the issue of sentencing. And Mbage here will talk about that. We're looking at the whole penal regime, the penal code regime, come up with a task force to look into that, to reform that aspect of our laws. So you're right, Debarl, that maybe it is time, led by the Public Service Commission, we may need to start looking at all these institutions and whether they're serving Kenyans the way they should be. Indeed, the president himself, I think there's a time he appointed a task force to look at the parastatals. Do we have too many? They were amalgamated. There was a report that was given out. And for me, it's a healthy conversation, and we need to start interrogating and asking whether all these institutions really serve to the benefit of Kenyans, or sometimes they water down the focus that could be there if we all operated under one regime. All
right, maybe we can hear from Wabukala as well. Then how do we, National Anti-Corruption Steering Committee, and Ethics and Anti-Corruption Steering Committee, you were talking about public education. What would be diametrically different what you're doing and what the National Steering Committee, Anti-Corruption Steering Committee is doing?
I think well, I have other things to say in terms of what I view as independent commissions in this country. Before I come to that.
No. Let's just deal with that first, because also we're really strapped for time.
Okay, I think that's fine. Corruption is a very big issue. And as I said in my statement, it cannot be fought by an individual, by an individual institution, but it must be fought by everybody. I think around 2013, 2007, when we started to be very serious about corruption, the then president, Mbage and his team, realized that public awareness has not taken root in Kenya. That time, when somebody wanted to do corruption, he said, give me a cup of tea. Mm. And if you had the word cup of tea, it meant you have to give something.
Yes.
And you could not also mention very openly the word corruption in public. You have to look behind your back, who is next to you, before you mention it. Now, the president then established a committee, not a commission, a committee, to deal specifically with public awareness and the kind of culture change, which I had the opportunity to lead for quite some time. Mm-hmm. And I remember the times when we went to a place, people were extremely hostile. They didn't want to hear about it. They were defensive about corruption. So public awareness was very important. And I think that committee serves that arm of the fight against corruption. But as I said, it is a huge, huge task that it needs everybody. Mm-hmm. So while they deal with the awareness creation and, of course, trying to change the culture of the people in Kenya, they now will need a bigger role that we are now playing at EACC, where we do the awareness, but we tell people, you see, if you don't change, this is what will happen. Mm-hmm. And so it's a complementary kind of way of approach.
Yes.
And therefore, to bring down to what you have said about the other commissions that you think, that people think maybe are a duplication, we have noted that at EACC, for example, we do a lot of partnering, and we also help ministries, departments, to establish their own codes of conduct, yes, code of ethics. And therefore, ours is then to go to our stakeholders and say, you want to establish a code of ethics? We look at it. Is it informed with the Constitution? And how are you enforcing it? And they do it themselves. So that if it's like the cooperatives, which is now the point in question, the cooperative sector in this country has had a lot of challenges. If you look back in the 1980s, they were the driving engine of the economy of this country. And therefore, it was necessary at least to look at them so that they can drive the economy of the country. And I think that must have informed the process of establishing such a commission on their ethics, particularly on how they are operating, because people are looting left and right, establishing cooperatives on land, and you find a lot of problems, fighting on land issues, even killing each other. Therefore, I think the magnitude of the work within that sector may have necessitated that. And at the moment, for us, we look at all that as now our partners. And we can now enforce most of the law which is there in terms of our Constitution. But as Professor said, every thing that comes and is legislated goes through a process.
Thank
so
you.
there must be a process that has informed that.
A process.
Yes.
All right. And can we pick a caller who's hanging on the line, then we continue with the discussion. We have Matthew who's hanging on the line, and he has a question also for our panelists this morning. Good morning, Matthew.
Good morning, Debarl.
Morning to you.
My name is Matthew.
Yes.
I'm calling from Eldoret.
Yes.
I'm just calling to Mbage.
Yes.
My question goes to Wabukala. Recently I've seen the speaker head that has happened in the KCB.
Yes.
And the parent to the boys actually.
Yes.
He said actually he can see a lot of government officials. Are you hearing me?
Yes, we are.
I'm not getting it.
Yeah, a lot of government officials like the NOS cattle
Yes.
that is happening. And then the people are well known. Then they're all scot-free to the public. Yeah, so this has really affected our youth, especially me as a youth, because I'm around 30 years.
Yes.
So what are the public education that is being undertaken actually to teach people that going or walking away with public resources is a crime?
Thank you.
Another question is according to the...
All right, well, it seems he's put us on hold. We'll take another caller who's hanging on the line, Kasim as well. Good morning, Kasim. All right, we'll reach to Kasim as well. But the question is this, of course, recently we are aware of what happened with the KCB branch in Thika, where there was a heist of 52 million that went, and young men from who were just university students actually made away with that 52 million shillings. And the father came to the fore and said, you know, we blame the society. Right? We blame the society because we have all these issues that, you know, they're being peppered in the public about civil servants making away with millions of shillings, yet they're not taken the law is not really thrown, the book of the law is not really thrown hard to them. They go scot-free, and the moral fiber of a society is disintegrating. So the father says, we cannot even blame the young man, we blame the society itself. And that was a question squarely to you from Matthew.
I think that's a very, very interesting question. And I think you are right to say, as a society, we are to blame for most of the things that are happening. And one of the things that when Professor here, actually she interviewed me to come to this position, when she asked me, why are you coming to join it? I said, it's my passion to see that the future of this country is in the right hands, and that my grandchild will live in a society that is good. Now, we have placed materialism far ahead of value system that we need to propagate. But that put aside, I think specific efforts must be made. We cannot give up now. We need to carry out specifically steps that can bring our society back to its senses. We have, as I mentioned at the Commission, we are now actually partnering with the education sector. We participated in the curriculum formation to infuse the value system there. We have actually started what we call integrity clubs in schools, so that we begin to nurture young people, give them good value system. Now, the challenge then comes back to the role modeling in our society. That the leadership and integrity issue is very crucial. And I think what the person asking putting across is important. And I think let it be a challenge to all of us. It is a challenge to all of us that we must have a better value system in this country. But I would say, as a commission mandated to participate, actually it cannot be the whole.
Right.
We are doing our best. And we recognize the fact that a value system that is good is necessary for a development. And we cannot, because of that, then say that stealing 52 million in the way it was done was a good thing. No, that is wrong. We must then make sure we are allowed to tell people that that fact is wrong, and that we need to get better ways of earning our living.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, let me hear from Mbage. We got a lot to cover, but we have a few minutes also remaining for time as well. We want to look especially, because we talk of funding, and this has come from Margaret, Kobia, and most of you have also alluded to that fact that funding is a big problem. So how then do we justify having permanent commissioners? Because people are saying, you know, some of the commissioners, they don't really need to be permanent. You have the secretariat running the commission. Why can't we have some of these commissioners on an ad hoc basis, if need be, on a part-time basis, instead of having commissioners who are on a full-time basis? And yet the majority, because your work most of the time is policy and decision-making, isn't it? And that doesn't happen every day. The secretariat can take the normal running of the day, and of course, if need be, on an ad hoc basis, then the commissioners can be meeting. Mbage.
Maybe I can say that.
Let's hear from Mbage. We'll come to you.
Yes, that has been a point of discussion, and there are representations either way. And I remember when we were doing there was a task force appointed by the Attorney General on instructions by the President to review the policy framework on the fight against corruption. And at that time, the commissioners of EACC were all full-time. Mm-hmm. And a decision was made to split the commission so that you have just a few of them full-time and others part-time. Remind me, Chair, you are full-time? Oh. No. So that is an issue that has been taken up. And I think going forward, a lot of the commissions may probably, you know, have a mixture of part-time and full-time. Looking at the Law Reform Commission, we of course benchmark with other aspects or other commissions all over the world. And the model they have is part-time commissioners. Like the Law Reform Commission, we have the chairman, the vice chair, and one commissioner who are full-time. The idea here is that if you have to get high quality expertise in terms of law reform, then you may need a mixture. The other members are members appointed from specialist areas like academia, officers representing the Attorney General, the DPP. The study carried out by the Auditor General actually confirmed that when you look at the commissions, the conventional wisdom that a lot of money is taken is not actually correct, that it is a very small part of the budget that is taken by the commissions. Yeah. Whether they are full-time or not.
But you know, there was a whole debate about, as we're winding up, let me hear from Morara. There was a whole debate about the allowances that the judiciary or the commissioners they take home, especially from the Judicial Service Commission. There was a whole scandal about the 8 millions they normally take per month. And people were asking questions on even if you meet briefly, because there were cases that were given. Yeah, he met, or the commission met the Inspector General of Police at a certain hotel for a very brief meeting, even of 5 minutes. Yet you take away 8 million shillings from a sitting allowance, you know, in a week. And the number of sitting allowances or the sitting that were given were outstanding. How then do you justify that you have little money and you're asking for more money, yet you take all this in sitting allowances? Very briefly.
You've made a specific mention on the Judicial Service Commission, the Vice Chair.
Under the ambit of...
She'll speak to that.
Yes.
But I think in terms of also grappling with these matters, I know there are measures that have been taken across the board, even from Parliament, capping the number of sittings and all that. I think that is the same with the Judicial Service Commission. So again, there was a loophole that was identified, and I think measures have been taken to seal that loophole.
Yes.
But in the totality of the whole budget, I really want to emphasize the fact that Kenyans shouldn't be paying so much attention on the amount of money that these commissions are being paid. They should be paying a lot of attention on whether these commissions are delivering their mandate in line with Article 249. And if they are not, why are they not delivering? Is it because of the capacity issues? Is it because of funding and all this? Because the commissions, as I said earlier on, are the fourth arm of government. They play a very critical role, and taking about 1% of the budget is not a huge thing. What will be huge is if we do not deliver on the mandate, and Kenyans have legitimate expectations from us that we're going to deliver on our respective mandates. Debarl, if you'll allow me, because I think this is the last final comments I'm making for me, I'll say that as the National Commission on Human Rights, there are spaces where we've actually occupied and done collaboration and partnerships across the board. One of those with the Department of Justice. Now we have in place a very good national policy and action plan on human rights that brings in the county governments through the establishment of human rights units. We are also developing currently with that office a national policy and action plan on business and human rights. I think that's going to really regulate how we are doing our business, especially with the discovery of the resources in the oil sector and all that. And we also want to do our human rights from a transformative way. Yes. We signed a memorandum with the Kenya School of Government, the Council of Governors, and all that. But as I said, challenges still abound, and we haven't reached the ideal of what Eleanor Roosevelt said in some spaces, especially in political accountability and security, in 1948, that human rights matters in the small spaces. So in matters of political accountability, in matters of security, a lot of challenges, especially with the police service, but it's a work in progress, and we are committed to holding them to account so that we move towards a more respecting republic, as is required of us.
Thank you.
By our mandate.
Thank you. Right, I just want to run our viewers by some of these commissions that we do have. The first one that are commissions and independent offices, and also the second one, commissions created by Act of Parliament. And just to give you a sense of where we are at as far as those commissions are concerned, you can see them on your screen. We have the Kenya National Human Rights and Equality Commission, which was actually now, broken now to the National Gender into three, yes. And this was what was from the Constitution, the National Lands Commission, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the Parliamentary Service Commission, the Judicial Service Commission, the Commission on Revenue Allocation, the Public Service Commission, the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, the Teachers Service Commission, and the National Police Service Commission. And then we have two independent offices, which are the Auditor General and the Controller of Budget. Right, then we have commissions created by Act of Parliament. There is where we have all this number of commissions, most of them: the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, the National Gender and Equality Commission, Commission on Administrative Justice, Commission for University Education, Kenya Film Commission, Kenya Meat Commission, Kenya National Commission for UNESCO, Ethics Commission for Cooperative Societies, National Commission for Science, Technology and Innovation, Permanent Presidential Music Commission, Energy Regulatory Commission, Kenya National Law Reform, of which we have the chair here as well, Permanent Presidential Music Commission, which we've never even had much about, and what also is their role as well. We have all these 13, adding to also the number that is given also from the Constitution. This is a blotted commission that we are talking about, Margaret, Kobia. You have the right maybe to close down some of these offices, as we were told briefly as we're winding up. What is the way forward? Because yes, we cannot sustain all this commission as it's given, and we've seen much of the work is duplicated as well.
Okay. Thank you, Debarl. I think although we have very many commissions in different categories, there's an African tradition that says before you demolish a fence, find why it was established in the first place. So I believe all these commissions were established with some thinking behind, but I also want to say that time has come, because you have seen from Public Service Commission, anytime there is a particular challenge, the tendency is to come up with a structure. But we have also realized sometimes if we interrogated what problem we are trying to solve, we could find, is there another government agency that could address that problem? Mm-hmm. So what I'm saying, moving forward, we should be able to stop working in the silos, and I think an example has been set by Forum of Commissions, where we now working together so that we are avoiding that duplication. Therefore, I think we can also now not also say, let's abolish these offices based from our own opinion or from our own perception. It's important that whatever decisions we make, they are informed by evidence. That means a review. I think any progressive country always reviews their structures and it makes the best decision. And if there is a challenge to come in the future, another review will be done. I would want to say that
very briefly,
yes, for the commissions, in my view, I think they have become stronger since the Constitution. We have seen quite a bit of independence of most of the commissions, JSC included. Therefore, I tend to think that even the comment where JSC is said to have earned quite a lot of sitting allowance, that was before SRC was in force. Since SRC has come, it has regulated how many sittings you can have in a month. It has also regulated how much you can earn per sitting and of the agenda of that sitting. So I think there is that oversight also which is making the commission stronger and better. There is room for improvement, but moving forward, reviewing the 6 years, I think commissions have done a good job.